Hi, and thank you for joining today to view today's webinar, Bar and Pie Charts Using Spreadsheets for Integrated Reporting in FCS Express. I'm Amanda Dixon, a Technical Application Specialist with Novo Software. And if you're new to FCS Express and are just learning more, we are based in Southern California, just outside of Los Angeles, and we've been providing data analysis and reporting solutions to thousands of researchers worldwide for about 20 years now. So we've been around helping people with their flow and image and also mass cytometry data to make life easier and faster as you're going through your analyses and downstream reporting of your results. So just before we jump into today's topic, I just want to highlight a couple webinars left in this series. So next week on May 31st, we'll be covering SPADE and other data transformation tools available in FCS Express 6. And then a few weeks later in July, we'll be covering the spectral flow cytometry and data analysis techniques. Just like this webinar, you're welcome to register at our homepage, and I'll go there now just so you can see it. denovosoftware.com or fcsexpress.com, and if I scroll down, you'll see here is our registration portal where you can sign up for upcoming webinars, and if you've missed any or you want to learn the basics or learn a more detailed overview about a specific topic, you can always view our recorded webinars at your leisure. And just a quick outline of what we're covering today. We're really just going to start with a couple simple examples to show you how to build bar and pie charts. The two methods mostly are drag and drop, so you can drag and drop gate, statistics, test other charts onto each other, and you can also use spreadsheets to derive custom data. So statistics that are not standard or defaults, you can actually calculate those in the software, do other statistical testing, everything you're familiar with in Excel-like environment. So spreadsheets are new to version 6. If you haven't used them previously, they're a great new feature that give Excel-like functionality and downstream charting for your data. If you've used versions 4 or 5 of FCS Express to build these bar charts and pie charts, just note moving forward that spreadsheets are the feature which you'll use to build them. So they're much faster and easier to use and making it more convenient. Spreadsheets are also the object we'll use to format the visual features of our bar and pie charts. And so those various properties for bar charts include assigning a color for each bar, highlighting parameters so we can make conditional statements that highlight the bar of interest if you want a specific token or bit of information to reflect that. We can also add error bars using statistics or custom calculations in the spreadsheets as well. And then for pie charts, you can actually add a ring to look at another parameter of data. You can explode slices using that conditionality like you would do for highlighting parameters in the bar chart, and also changing the color. So you can use default color schemes for the pie chart, or you can actually define each slice's color based on a token or manual text. So for that, we'll just begin with bar charts. And here with the bar charts, you can see we have this upper left plot where we've identified our parent population or gate, and then 3 samples to the right looking at 3 different subsets or 3 different gates. So here we just have samples 1, 2, and 3. And below each one, they have their respective statistics table. So we can see the gate, the number of events, the percent of gated cells, and the percent of all cells. So I'll show you how we can drag and drop bits of information into the bar charts to build them up very quickly and easily. So to add a bar chart is just like adding any other object in FCS Express. We go up to the ribbon and choose the Insert tab. And from the Insert tab, we just mouse over to 1D plots. Now 1D plots have a whole host of our familiar plot types, and then we also have the bar and pie charts. So I'll just click on the bar to activate it and click and draw on a blank space of my layout. Now here you can see it's already auto-populated. I can actually delete that, and I can go in here to my View tab and erase those spreadsheets. So that's one way to find it. Here we're just going to start with a blank one, and I'll drag and drop it in, and I have an empty one. So the software is automatically going to auto-generate a spreadsheet as I'm dragging and dropping bits of information into it. So for starters, I'm just going to come to my first sample and choose my gate 1. So I'm going to click and hold within gate 1 drag it over to my empty bar chart, and now my bar chart has a blue outline. It means it's willing and ready to accept whatever information I'm dropping into it. I'm going to release my mouse, and now all I have to do is define the statistic from this box that I wish to use. For this example, we'll just choose % of gated cells and OK. Now I have my bar. I can do this for the other two plots very quickly and easily. So I'll do the same thing, choose the statistic, and drag it over. In addition to dragging and dropping from gates, we can drag and drop from other bits of information or text. So here, I'll just add a new series for my gate 2 population. And to add a gate in a new series or a subset in a new series, rather than having them all line up side by side, I just click and drag my gate or token of interest, and instead of dropping it in the free space like we did for the first series, I begin a new series by dropping my information below the x-axis. So I'll release my mouse, choose my token, and say OK. Here we have our new series. I'll do the same thing for the next ones. This time I'll actually use the statistics tables. So I'm just going to click and drag that token of interest, and now I have a placeholder where I can drop it for the remaining two subsets. So I'll just do that over here for my third sample, and now I have it. If I come up to my plots, I can actually change my parent gate, which will change the data displayed for all of these, and in turn changing the related tokens, which are driving my plots. And what that looks like, if I come over here and move it, you can see all the information is being replotted and redrafted simultaneously. So now this is really powerful if I have to change my data or update my information or change my gates. I don't have to copy and paste or do anything differently. They're automatically linked and will dynamically update. Now within editing, I can go through and do a few different things. I can actually add another series another way. So I'll come into here and add a new bar chart. And for this bar chart, I'm just going to add my third gate or subset. So I'm going to drag and drop it in, choose that % of gated, do the same over here, choose it from my token, and there it is. Now I have my third subset. I can actually click and drag my second bar chart's border and drop it onto my other bar chart. And as I release it, all I have to do is choose it as a new overlay and say OK. So now I have all three series. We've seen we can drag and drop gates, tokens, and also drag and drop other bar charts to add new series as well. Now in editing our bar charts, if we wanted to add error bars or change the coloring defaults, that is all done in the spreadsheets. So to pull up the spreadsheets, I'll do what I did earlier, and then I'll go find my auto-generated spreadsheet 8. Now to find this spreadsheet, you just go to the View tab. It's the last one on the ribbon. And then under Navigators, I'll be able to choose Data Navigator. And now we can see that there is spreadsheet 8, which I used to add the first two series, and then a spreadsheet 9, which I used to derive the other one, and drag and drop. So I'll just drag and drop it out here and let it come in as a data grid. And here's my spreadsheet. So I'll resize it, make it a little bit smaller so we can see everything, and also update the text. So see, it looks very much like Excel. I can highlight it, and we have two tabs related to spreadsheets. One where I can edit the physical properties, the text, anything like that. And then another where we can actually go in and insert formulas, which I'll show you just shortly. Now here in the spreadsheets, I'm going to change a few properties just so I can make it easier to edit the properties of my bar chart. So I can double click or right click my bar chart to access formatting. So just like any 1D or 2D plot, we can change basic settings, overlays, titles, and today we'll focus on the overlays category. So when we add a new series to the bar chart, it's represented as a new overlay. So you can see here I have one for my gate 1, the second spreadsheet 8 for my gate 2, and then the third, which was in the other spreadsheet for my gate 3. Now what I can edit with the bar chart are the labels. So I can derive the source column of information from my spreadsheet to give that information. I can also change the values used. Here is where I can define my error bar parameters. So again, I just build a column showing that information. The highlight parameter, we can choose not to show it, or we can choose a source column as well. I haven't built these yet, but these are all the different characteristics we can change. I can even change the color of the highlight parameter, the gate applied to the plot, individual bar charts, coloration, so I can make these ones different colors in preview. We can see those have updated. I can change it for my red bars in preview and for my third. So I can change those all at the same time or individually to give my plot the coloration and aesthetics I wish to use. I can also come in and change the fill patterns and the shapes. So whatever you need to do to best represent your data, just know you can do it here. And in a little bit, I'll show you how to actually change your error bars as well. But for the bar borders, we can actually add lines. So I can build this in, change the coloration, and make it a little bit wider. In preview, and now we can see the third series has an outline. And I can say OK. Now, to build out the spreadsheet, we can add new columns to do it. But for simplicity, I'm just going to build a new bar chart with a new spreadsheet so you can see how easily it's done. So we'll delete these. And to insert a spreadsheet, we just go back to that Insert tab, click on Spreadsheet. I'm going to call this my percent of dated comparison, just so I have that named, and say OK. I'll move this down here and resize it back to where it's a little bit smaller. And this time I'm going to add column headers. So I'm going to add names to identify my populations of interest and easily identify which columns to use when I'm editing my bar chart. And to do that, I'm just going to say my gate. I'll say 1, 2. We'll just work with those. I'll say sample 1, sample 2, and sample 3. And within this, I'm actually going to treat these 3 different samples as replicates. So we'll do an average for graphing. I'll also add in a standard deviation in my spreadsheet, which I'll use for my error bars. And then I'll also add my highlight parameters as well. So here, just like we did earlier when we were dragging and dropping into an empty bar chart, I can just drag and drop these tokens in and identify them very quickly and easily. So I'll do that for these. I'll come over here, do it for these. So I can choose multiple cells if I wanted to. Just drag and drop them in. Holding Shift, drag and drop in. And now it's quickly and easily done. So another way to do your averages, you can use a token, or in this case, we're going to use a custom calculation. So I'll just key in the equal sign. And now I'll just type in my formula, or I can go up to my Spreadsheet Formulas tab. And from the Spreadsheet Formulas tab, I just choose Statistical from the function library, and I can scroll down and find it. So here I can say my average. I can click and drag to highlight my cells I wish to average, just like I would in Excel. And I can duplicate that formula down. So if I double click here, we can see it's referencing the appropriate cells. I can do the same thing for my error bar. So here we'll just do standard deviation. And here, and I can go back up to statistical from formulas and just scroll down. So you can see as I'm scrolling through, there are many different custom formulas and tests available. And I'm just scrolling down to my standard deviation and choosing my cells one more time. So I can choose that. I can duplicate it. I can edit these, so if I want to change the number display, I can do that really easily by highlighting my cells and going back up to the Layout tab. And from the Layout tab, I can just choose Format Cells. Alternatively, I can also choose to display them by right-clicking and choosing Format Cells. So a few different ways to format the spreadsheet to give you the numbers you want, but that's how it is. Now, to create a conditional statement for highlighting a bar of interest, we can enter a conditional statement. So here I'll enter the equal sign and if, and then I'll enter my conditional statement. So perhaps I want to highlight if my average of gate 1 is less than 45. And here is evaluating to true. When it evaluates to true, that highlight will be applied in your settings to that bar of interest. I'll do another conditional statement down here to say if my average of my second population in gate 2 is greater than 45. and is evaluating to false. So now when I have a spreadsheet built in to add a quick and easy bar chart, I can just go back to Insert while my spreadsheet is actively engaged, click on bar, and just draw it in. And now we can see here it has the name percent of data parent, or comparison, excuse me. I'm going to change my text so it's a little bit larger. And we're using columns to derive the source values. So I can actually change everything by just right-clicking or double-clicking. And before I do that, I'm just going to come in and format my spreadsheet. By default, spreadsheets use the first row of data as data, but if you want to, you can actually change that to use the values as labels. So I'll say OK, and then I'll come back and edit my bar chart. So double-clicking, I'm going back to the overlays category, and now we'll go through the different settings we can apply based on the values in our spreadsheet. And I'll move this so we can see everything. Bar labels is referencing column A, which is empty. So to change it, I can actually just change to my second column, gate 2, or whatever I want it, and say preview. And now my axis is updated. To change the bar values, here I want to display my average, so I'll actually go through the drop-down and choose my average column and say preview. And now they've updated. Now the error bar is by default not shown, so I just have to go down to my error calculation, which was standard deviation, and say preview. And now I have error bars for my objects, or bars. The highlight parameter, we're just going to turn it on and choose a highlight column and preview. And now we can see this one is being used. If I don't want blue or I want something more striking, I can easily change that color and see it update. Now we scroll on down. I'm going to change my error bar properties. So here we'll just make them wider. I'll change the coloration and say OK. So now in this really simple example, if I come over here and move my gate, we can see not only as the tokens update and the bars are redrafted, all the calculations are being redone and replotted. So which makes it really great and helpful because if I open up my data list, we can see I actually have 3 sets of data. So I can quickly just change my data and all the information will update downstream. I can even go through and send this in a batch process. So I can just come up here to the batch tab, hit run, and it'll go through those 3 sets of data for me, updating all that information, sending it out to a PDF or PowerPoint or Excel document to share it however you need to. So now that it's done, we'll just open it up. My PDF reader is opening, and we'll see very quickly that we will have 3 different pages for the bar charts and all the related information. So here it just went through and did everything for me. And now here's my one. If I zoom out a little bit more, we can see that one. If I scroll down, I can see my follow-up page, and everything's updated. You can send this anywhere you need to, and it's readily available. So they're live connected so that as the data and gates change, you'll be able to see the results immediately. Now, alternatively, we'll build a final bar chart using our data list. So if I wanted to compare all of these together at the same time, I can easily do that. So I'll insert another spreadsheet, and this time I'll use this for my data files. And to drag and drop again, I can choose some or all of my files in the data list, drag and drop them over. So I'll choose A1 for now and statistic token. And when I do that, all I have to do is in a stepwise top-down fashion identify my parameter. So maybe I only want to look at percentages for now. I can choose my dates of interest or no dates. I can come over here and choose file names. I can actually choose multiple statistics by just clicking and holding on each one. So hold Control and click each one you want, and I'll say OK. So now I have 2 plots of information or 2 columns. I can add statistics one by one as well. So I'll choose a new statistic token, and maybe this time we'll choose the median value of gate 1 for this CD3 FTSE, and OK. And now if I go from here, I can actually just say format one more time or insert bar chart, and it'll use that information. So just a quick format of my spreadsheet. I can actually come down here, make it a label, and say OK. And there are my file names versus number of events, but I can actually change that. So I come over here and quickly format. I can actually double click and just go back to that overlays category and change my values from number of events to median. And I can change them to green to match my FTSE and go from there. If I come up here, they're all related to gate 1. If I move this gate, those values are going to be recalculated for all the data files. So if I needed to compare all my files from an experiment at one time, I can quickly and easily do that. Are there any questions about creating bar charts or spreadsheets or editing any of the properties of a bar chart at this time? Wonderful. So we'll actually move on to our second example using pie charts. So we'll just open this up quickly. And pie charts are really great because we're going to be able to compare the experiment as a whole if you wanted to look at percentages of populations in a pie or donut graphical representation. Just like the bar charts, you're going to see how quickly and easily that's done. So just as a reference for this experiment, it's just a cell cycle analysis. We have some gates here. We have some regions of interest to identify our colors we're going to use for the pie charts. And then if I go to the second page down here for my actual report, you can see very quickly that there are two cycling populations, a diploid population and then an aneuploid population. And we're going to use a pie chart to represent the percentages of G1, G2, and S for both of these subsets in one graph. Now to do that, you've probably guessed it, it's just going back to the Insert tab and choosing Pie Chart. And I can just click and draw it out to make it any shape I want. Again, it's an empty document or empty object, which I can use drag and drop to bring it over. So here I'm going to start with my diploid percentages. Drag and drop them over, another blue outline, release my mouse, and there it is. I can do the same thing for my G2. When you're adding wedges or slices to your pie, you want to drag them into the empty space of the pie chart. If I drag and drop this percentage for G2 onto the pie itself, you can see it's replaced the previous one. So I'm just going to key Control-Z to undo, drag and drop again to add it as a wedge. And let me do that. There's my new wedge. I'll do that for my percentage as well. So here you can see they're automatically populating. If I double click on my pie chart and go to the overlays category as well, this is where we'll be able to edit the features for this pie chart, just like we were doing for a bar chart. Now for the pie chart, you'll derive a value column. So this value parameter is going to be for the pie. You can have a name parameter, so we can actually annotate these with G1, G2, and S. And we can also add a ring for that aneuploid population. So all these further down changes for rings and exploding to make something conditional and pop away from the shape are all going to be done in the spreadsheet. The coloring we can also do in the spreadsheet here under color parameter dropdown, or we can also choose a color scheme. So the color scheme is actually a defined set of colors that I can switch quickly and easily to recolorize my wedges. Now we don't have control over assigning each wedge to a specific color, and if you wanted to do that, that is where we come back and do the color parameter. So we can come in and change them. We can also activate the donut chart. So if I wanted to put a hole here, I can preview, and there's my hole. I can actually change it in terms of size. I can make it smaller. I can make it larger. Anything I need to do to make it look the way I want it to. So here we'll just make it much smaller and say preview. On down and annotating, once we build in a name column, we'll be able to show that. I can switch it from the value to a percentage to better reflect my data. And I can also add a title column. So once I actually have that name column, we'll have a legend, which each slice showing those very easily. So I'll say OK for now, and then pull up the spreadsheet used for this pie chart, which again, we just go to the View tab. And from the View tab, open the Data Navigator. And there's my auto-generated spreadsheet. I'm just going to drag it out for editing. And we can see here all the information. Now let's just resize it a little bit. And I'm going to change a few settings. So here we have our diploid population. I'm actually going to add a row. To edit a spreadsheet is really easily done. I'm choosing a cell, and then from layout, I'm just coming up here to insert a row. I can insert a column if I wanted to. So you can see at a row above the selected cell or a column to the left of the selected cell. So I can call this my pie or my diploid. I'll make another column for the ring, which will be my aneuploid population. And we'll add a couple more to identify those custom features for color, name, and explode as well. And I'll just call these my G1, G2, and S. To add the ring aneuploid population, you probably guessed it already. I'm just going to come back here to my statistical table representing my multi-cycle analysis and just drag and drop them in. So I'll do that for G2 and S. And you probably realized that my pie chart has disappeared. That's because I just need to come up here and format this spreadsheet to use these labels as headers and change my source columns. So to change my source columns, all I have to do is go back to overlays and say my value parameter for my diploid is going to be the pie. And there's my chart. The name parameter, I'm going to switch it to my name down here in preview. I'm going to activate my caption style to show the name, and you can see the labels have updated for each slice. I'm going to activate my ring to show the aneuploid population. There it is there. And just keep on going through. I'll activate my explode settings, and then we'll build in the conditional statement for that. And also I can switch this to color, and I'll say preview. So now those are actively applied from my spreadsheet onto here, and you'll see I can actually type in free text to change the color of these different charts if I wanted to. If you actually want to use a gate token, you can do that. So colors of gates can be reflected and updated in your pie chart. To do that, I can just clear this information and right-click within my cell and choose Insert Token. Now, rather than the familiar statistic and keyword tokens, we have a whole lot of other tokens available in the software. So I'm going to open up the gate category, and at the very bottom, you can see I can use my gate color. Now, on the previous page, I chose to make regions of interest to define colors. I'm just going to choose my G1 region of interest I made, and we can see it's updated. I'll do the same for my G2, insert token, gate, and choose my G2. So you can see they quickly and easily update. If they have a name associated with them, they'll reflect that. Otherwise, we'll show a value for the hex code. I'll come into here, right-click and insert token one more time, and choose my S. So now we can see the three different colors which are reflected up here. So here are my gates or regions of interest I created. I'm just going to undo that. And you can see G1 is down here as green, S is down here as purple, and then navy is used for G2. For a conditional statement, we're just going to say equals again, if, and we'll identify our criteria. So here I'll say explode the ring if C2 is less than 75. Evaluates to false, so there's no exploding. I'll do the same for the next two just to see it. And here we'll say if this cell is, oops, I need my equal sign. If for my diploid population, the G2 is less than 5, it evaluates to true, and we can see it's broken away. And we can do the same thing for the S phase. So I can just come over here and say equals. We'll do this for the aneuploid. And I'll say if it is less than 15. So you can see those have broken away. If I wanted to, I could change my gate supply to these populations of interest, and if I moved them, all the information will update. So you can see I applied a gate. The information updated in my cell cycle model, and all the downstream information in pie chart updated as well. I can key undo, Control Z, or go all the way up here and just click undo to change the gate applied. And there we have it. To show a legend, all I have to do is go back to Format, So I'm just right-clicking and choosing Format. Back to that familiar Overlays category. So here I'm just going to say use the name column for my captions. I'm going to take away my captions there and go to the Legend category and display it. So I'll display it to the right and say Preview, and there we have it. I'm actually going to rename my overlay. So I'll say Phase, and now it's updated. So very quickly and easily, I've created a summary of my diploid and aneuploid populations. If I needed to change the title, change the background color, just like any other plot, I can do that. So General allows me to change the visibility. I can change the background of my pie chart, so I can make it gray. I can change the title, so I can say comparison of diploid and aneuploid subsets. I can change the font. Anything you're familiar with or need to change in the software, you can do it for your pie charts. So here I can just change the background, and there it is. And I have a quick report ready to go if I had other samples or other files to process, just like in the bar chart example, I had to batch through them, send them to Excel, send them to PowerPoint or Word. And that is it. Any questions about creating a pie chart or editing information for the pie chart? All right, so with that, we'll just come back over to my original layout and kind of just touch on a summary. So what you hopefully saw today is how quickly and easily you can create bar charts, either using drag and drop from your gate, statistics, other bits of information, even data files in your data list, or you can use spreadsheets to further your analysis and do custom statistics or calculations to build a bar chart or pie chart. Bar charts allow you to do a nice summary of your data, so you can either do subsets or the whole experiment at once just by dragging and dropping. And then pie charts allow you to see how they change across the whole. And you can even compare two different populations or bits of information within one graph. If we continue going for a little bit more, you saw that we could customize them in any way. We could add conditional rules to make things visually pop out so that you can best represent your data. And hopefully the big important part is that you notice these integrated tools, the graphing tools and spreadsheets, along with many other features, allow you to save a lot of time. So hopefully significant amounts of time are saved because you can experience the real-time updating whenever you change your data, change the gates, reanalyze or process new replicates or new repeats of your study with the template you've already created. So we'll stay on the line for a few more minutes and I'll show you where you can get support. So if you have any questions or you want to contact us for help with your own data, you can reach us at support@denovosoftware.com. You can also visit our website to access our trial version, recorded webinars, and also ask for free help. So just where those are, I'll show you briefly. We'll come over here to download. This is where you can download a demo and get started building out these plots if you needed to. And then under support, you'll find tutorials, manuals, knowledge base pages, and also at the very bottom, you can click on Live Help and request a screen share or phone call with us at any time. We'll get back to you as quickly as possible, often within an hour or two. And you can also write us a note via this link here at support@denovosoftware.com. So with that, I would just like to thank you for your time and attention today and hope we connect again in the future. Thanks.